What's up, everybody? Welcome to another FlashBlack anime slash manga review. Why is it a FlashBlack? Because we're flashing back, and I'm black. So for my live stream thing this month, I'm doing like a whole nostalgia uh month kind of thing where I'm streaming older anime that like most of us here in America like during the '90s grew up watching, and so we just did Pokemon. Uh, so I've been doing that all week. So I was thinking, what nostalgic series can I do from from my childhood, kind of, for my review? Because I was kind of really wondering what the hell I was going to do for my review today, anyways. Especially since I just finished, I am finished with school. Now I'm out for summer. Thank the Lord. Uh, Yeah, so I was racking my brain about it. I'm like, what series can I do? What can I do a review for on such short notice? So I should probably put more thought into my reviews before I decide to do them. Like I should probably like plan them out for like a week in advance, so that, like I used to, and like hey, I just want to do it fresh from the week. Yeah, but that's said about that. So today I'm going to talk about the series that really actually did get me into manga. And that would be Yu-Gi-Oh! Surprisingly enough. Uh, I believe I said this in my Tsunami, in my first Tsunami video, but back when I was in elementary school, uh, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was like on Yu-Gi-Oh! Was like Yu-Gi-Oh! Was on TV and everything, so I was like really big fan of it. I loved the series a lot. And so one night, my mom picked me up from my babysitter's house, and we went to Ralph's. And I didn't really feel like walking around the store with her, so I'm like, they had like a little book area or whatever, like this whole area kind of where you just sit and read or whatever. Like, Mom, can I just wait in the bookstore? And she's like, okay, sure. Oh, or it came to that like in the later part of the trip. I don't really remember all the details, but I was sitting there and it just jumped out at me. It was a Shonen Jump uh, with a picture of Yugi and Kaiba on it, and I was all like, "Oh my God, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! I have to buy this now." So I asked Mom, "Will you buy this for me?" She's like, "Okay, sure." It's only like $4 anyways to get. Let's get it. So I only got Shonen Jump because of Yu-Gi-Oh! But as I started collecting more of them, I started reading more of the other series in them, and now I of anime and manga. So today's review, while it's not like super special or super important to me, the series itself, it is one of those series that's like, oh, I look back at that series and I'm like, I remember back when I was a little kid and that like really got me to where I am today, kind of thing. So, well, it's not like my absolute diehard favorite series. It is within my top 30 favorite series. Easily outranks Naruto, probably somewhere within like my top 10 or top 15, actually. So today we're gonna talk about it. Now, I know by now you all know this, like, everybody knows this if they know anything about anime and Yu-Gi-Oh! But Yu-Gi-Oh! Was not originally the whole card game franchise thing that it is today. Yu-Gi-Oh! Literally translates to Game King. And so the original, and this was it in its very original form. The story focused on Yugi Muto, whatever the fuck it is, Yugi Muto, and he is a high school freshman, I believe. Uh, 10, yeah, Japanese middle school goes 7, 8, 9. Yeah, Yugi is a high school freshman, and he's very small for his age. He's very isolated from everyone. He doesn't fit in very well, but he enjoys playing games, and he's very immature and childish, and it reflects in his character that he's like this really big game freak. and not, so he's been working on the Millennium Puzzle for like uh, 7 years now, I believe, and it's some ancient Egyptian artifact. Uh, and it inscribed on the box is like, whoever solves this puzzle will gain all the knowledge of the darkness and whatever or not, and we'll receive like one wish, something like that. And so uh, initially, Yugi has one friend that be Anzu Mas 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 fuck Anzu Mazaki, and who is Taya Gardner in the English dub, and she's Yugi's like childhood friend. And she's like, "Oh wow, that's really cool. You want to solid and get this wish and everything." She's like, "What's your wish?" He's like, "I can't tell you that." And so then enter Jonochi Katsuya and Hiroto Honda, Jonochi being Joey in the English dub and Honda being Tristan in the English dub. And they're kind of bullies a little bit, but it's a bit more. It's not like I'm bullying you to like take your bunch money and beat you up and like make you a shitty person. It's like Jonochi. It's kind of like I'm doing this like toughen you up and make you a man. He's always like messing with Yuki kind of and like if you want it back, take it back from me and hit me or whatever. So he steals like a piece of Yugi's Millennium Puzzle and throws into like the pool or whatever. They end up getting Yugi ends up attracting the eye of like the disciplinary committee captain or whatever, and he's like, if you ever have any problems with bullies, just let me know and whatnot, and I'll take care of it for you. And so the next day, he beats the shit out of Jonochi and Honda, and he's like, "Okay, Yugi, you owe me this like in the like 10 million yen or something like that," which is it's not it's a pretty large sum of money for a high schooler to have. And so he then beats up Yugi because Yugi's like standing in his way. He's all like, "I'm not gonna let you bully my friends. They're my friends. They were just trying to make me a man and stuff like that." So he goes home that night and he's like, "I don't have that kind of money," and he starts messing around more with the puzzle. And he almost completed. He's only missing the one piece, and then his grandpa walks in and is like, "Oh, here you go. Here's the last piece." He's like, "Where the hell did you find this?" And he's like, "One of your friends from school came by. He was dripping wet, and he said to give this to you." So he solves the puzzle and awakens the 5,000-year-old spirit that's laying dormant within it, and becomes Yu-Gi-Oh! The Game King, or known more so as Yami Yugi, uh, who is who is in actuality everyone knows pharaoh of who was a pharaoh from Egypt, and uh, at the end of like the first chapter, all the four main characters are become friends, and it kind of goes from there. Now, like I said, the original like Yu-Gi-Oh originally was not meant to be this whole card game driven franchise that it is now. So as it translates to Game King, it was going to be very episodic. Every chapter, every couple of chapters, it would be a new game or a new challenge Yugi have to face. Something would happen that involved his friends, and he would transform into Yami and challenge the offender to a game, and it would be a shadow game. And shadow games aren't the shadow games in the series were whatever the game was, the shadow games, it would be like very simple rules or whatever. Like you cannot do you do this to win. Whoever's this point at the end is the winner. Uh, but the whole thing with the shadow games was that it was meant to bring out like the true nature of both players. So since Yami would be in control of Yugi's body, it'd already bring out his true character, and he was pretty much a bit of a dick if you go back and read like these first 7 volumes. Uh, but the other players involved, it'd bring out. They try to abide by whatever the already established rules were. But 9 times out of 10 they'd end up cheating somehow. Like the very first one alone, they're like playing this game where it's like they have like Yugi brings them the money or whatever at the end of the first near the end of the first chapter, and he's like, we'll play a game. You have that knife in your pocket, so we'll take turns stabbing the money while it's on our hand, and whoever can stab through the most bills at the end gets all the money. And so the guy he's playing against is like, oh, well, he gets to a certain point, he's like, oh, well, I can just stab you in the face now. And at the end of every game, no matter what would happen, Yugi would always win for the most part. It'd be like, you lose. Now you have to suffer a penalty game. And his penalty games, it'd be like a karma-induced type punishment or whatever. He would end up entrapping the losing player in some illusion and pretty much fuck their minds. Really, when you really think about it, he was fucking over their minds, really, for an unspoken amount of time. And so for the longest time, like throughout most of the 7 volumes, regular Yugi was not aware of the spirit of the Millennium Puzzle. He was not aware that he would transform into this alter ego and start dealing out punishments to these people. Yugi, in his mind, he just black out and then wake up like, oh, that happened. Okay. Although later on, it would start to like really click with him, like, oh no, this is happening. This is like this other me or whatever is taking over. And I really like the 7 volumes. Like these 7 volumes, it just really it kind of establishes like watching like the anime that we got here in America. The anime is based off of this manga, I believe. I'm not quite sure which came first in this situation, nor do I really actually kind of want to go and check at the moment. But I do believe that Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist manga was inspired by the anime. I'm not quite sure. Do not quote me on this. But yeah, I guess they kind of just wanted to, like, because the card game only showed up like twice. It was like once when Kai was introduced, and another time in like the kind of Yugi's crippling defeat of Kai with Exodia. And then it moved on from there in the manga. The anime, on the other hand, decided to like, hey, no, let's show the Exodia thing and have it this, do it that way. So we're kind of establishing a new canon. Uh, so, like I said, though, these first 7 volumes really kind of establish the characters as they appear in the next series of the manga, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist, and the anime Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters that we got here in America, which was just Yu-Gi-Oh! This manga actually did inspire an anime which we all know as Season 0. It is the anime adaptation of this original manga, and it does it's pretty well. It adds another character to the main group. Miho Nosaka or something like that. Yeah, Nosaka Miho or something like that. And she's like in the she was a one-shot character in the manga. She was a girl that Honda had like a bit of a crush on or whatever, and they just kind of upgraded her role to be like a main kind of supporting character in the anime to kind of like round out. Oh, we have 3 guys and 1 chick. Let's add another chick, and it'll be like 5 people. So I guess that was the rationale behind that. The original series also introduces Seto and Mokuba Kaiba. Mokuba, I was really surprised reading this because I had already gotten like a fair distance into the anime, like when I first watched it and everything, as a little kid, and it was like it wasn't quite Yugi dueling against Pegasus, but it was about Yugi dueling Panic, about that area. And so I had already seen the Mokuba character, and I'm like, oh, he's like the cutesy little brother or something like that. No, in like the manga, he was just about as sadistic as his older brother was. He had this like little gang of his or whatever when he was introduced. his game of specialty was at this point like Capsule Monster Chess or something like that. And he cornered Yugi with like his little elementary school friends, and they had like stun guns and knives and shit. I'm like, oh my god, these little brats! What the fuck's going on here? But so it introduced them, and it also introduced Bakura, and Bakura wasn't everyone really knows about this, so I guess I'm kind of just like running at the mouth, trying to like pad for time when I'm giving all this like background information on the characters and everything, and where they really care from and all that shit. But I don't care. It's my review. It's in 15 minutes, so I can for a while. Bakura was very much like Yugi. We all know kind of the whole Bakura thing. He was actually I really do believe Bakura is like a very much kind of clone of Yugi when you really kind of think about it. Just kind of opposite in his relationship to the spirit of his Millennium Item. Bakura has the Millennium Ring. Uh, so the spirit that's within the Millennium Ring is this old, ancient uh, grave robber or whatever, like this great bandit thief before or whatever. Uh, and he very much unlike the Spirit of the Millennium Puzzle, who only possesses Yugi uh, to challenge people through games when it like concerns his friends. The Spirit of the Millennium Ring possesses Bakura almost entirely on a whim, and Bakura is very much seldomly in control of his own body. Uh, so uh, he's not so much of a character as he is kind of like a vessel for the evil Spirit of the Millennium Ring. But so those 7 volumes were all well and good. The Duelist manga introduced like Pegasus and Bandit Keith and Mai and Duke Devlin, and despite it being a manga, the later one about card games, it comes off very well. I do enjoy reading it. I need to start recollecting more of it. Uh, and one of the things I really noticed in reading it is that the art style doesn't really change all too much. Really, it just gets a bit. It actually the art kind of improves a little bit in this iteration of the manga as opposed to the second one, where Yugi, as opposed to like the first one, where Yugi is walking around most of the time with no nose. Uh, so, it's very good. I guess I should probably go into like the good and bad parts of the series. Really, I really don't have any problems with season 0 manga or the original manga. Uh, really none at all. Like I find everything in there to be absolutely perfect, flawless. It does what it's supposed to, focus on a new game every time. Uh, as for this iteration of the series, though, let's see, what would I say is good about you? Excuse me, I guess I burped once of a review. This iteration of the series, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, whatever the hell you want to call it, it tends to go on a much more, like, uh, plot-based type storyline. Uh, very much kind of like, oh, we need to do this to the characters, we get them here and then produce this result. So it adds the whole Millennium Item thing was already already introduced in the original one. We even the Shoddy was also even introduced in this one too. So his job was already established to guard into the Millennium Items. But in the one that most of us grew up watching, they really did kind of like just take like that last game with Kaiba and put it into the whole old Kaiba kidnapped Yugi's grandpa because of the Blood White Dragon type thing. When in reality, in the original series, Kaiba kidnapped Yugi's grandpa as a kind of like it wasn't to get the blood of the white dragon. It was partly that he stole it in his very first introduction. Uh, but it was more like Yugi beat me. I'm going to beat the shit out of him now in the most underhanded way possible type of thing. And a funny thing too is that and when Yugi first does his shadow game with Kaiba, uh, Kaiba is very much intrigued by the whole monster aspect of the game. Like, in when Yugi first dueled Kaiba in the first series, the cards were brought to life by magic. So that directly inspired the holographic projectors that became kind of like the main staple of the series later on in the anime that most of us remember watching. Uh, so that's that. So what really can I say about the anime? Or about the more mainstream series? I would say that I actually do fairly enjoy the anime, like the card game anime. I don't really enjoy any of the newer ones like Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, or Yu-Gi-Oh! Zeal. I don't enjoy them at all because I'm like, it's not Yu-Gi-Oh! It's some other kid who's like based off of Yu-Gi in some way, but really isn't. Uh, but I guess they finished his story, so let's keep the cards running. Let's crank out more for the series for this franchise. Uh, so I would say that's definitely kind of one negative aspect about it, where they just kind of like they just keep the ball rolling and they just kind of like, oh, here you go. Uh, I guess another flaw I would have with the series uh, would probably be the character of Kaiba. Like when I think of like the Yugi Kaiba relationship, I'm very much reminded of the Goku Vegeta relationship, where uh you have like this rich and like very this very high class uh person, this very high class arrogant bastard for the most part, and they both really are. Uh, that are in high positions. They're in high positions of power. They are both entitled to money and power, and they're both extremely good at what they do. Uh, and then, but despite that, they are constantly one up by the lower class, very optimistic, very childish, uh, very kind of immature common man slash lower class for protagonist. So they kind of they don't bounce off of each other for the most part as well as Goku and Vegeta do. Basically because there's like no actual like fighting between them. Uh, and Goku always really had like this kind of like I don't think I'm wrong with this, but Goku and Vegeta have this like instinctual desire to fight each other. So that's the one thing that both of them want to do. Whereas the Yugi Kaiba relationship, Yugi doesn't want to duel Kaiba. Yugi only duels Kaiba when he actually has to duel Kaiba. Uh, so, but while that's kind of a good part of the series, I don't like. There's this one little take of Kaiba's character that I'm always like, really, like seriously, you're going to do this now? And that little tick is Kaiba's disbelief in magic, which I guess is kind of a nitpick of mine. But really think about this: in Yu-Gi-Oh, magic really does run rampant everywhere. A lot of the characters introduced for the most part, like the major antagonistic characters, all have some supernatural abilities. And Yugi and Kaiba are always, for the most part, in the center of it or get involved in it somehow. It's always Yugi's always involved in it, but Kaiba's more often than not connected to it in some way. Uh, so you have season 0, where Kaiba very much believed in magic. He was directly inspired by Yugi's magic to do the whole holographic protection thing. That's that. Then you roll around to this, and season 1 of both. I want to say like this and the anime. Kaiba didn't. Kaiba did acknowledge that supernatural powers existed, but he didn't really pay as much heed to them, I guess, or wasn't. I guess the throw kind of wore off of them. But then as soon as Battle City rolled around, it felt like I do not believe in magic at all. It's useless nonsense. It's got nothing to do with real life. The skill, whatever. I'm like, no, no, Kaiba, that does not work. That's no, no. So I guess that's more of a nitpick of mine than an actual flaw in the series. Uh, I guess I could complain about the filler arcs because Yu-Gi-Oh's and the Yu-Gi-Oh anime has like, let's see, there's Noah arc, the Virtual World arc. There is that whole thing with darts or whatever. There's that Kaiba tournament or whatnot. There are like 3 or 4 seasons of filler in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime. But I haven't really paid much attention to them, and I actually did quite like the Virtual World Noah filler arc. Uh, although I wish more came out of it. Uh, but I guess really my main problem with Yu-Gi-Oh is that when you really sit down and think about it, the characters in Yu-Gi-Oh the characters in Yu-Gi-Oh develop. Like it's not like it's not like they really do stay absolutely 100% the same throughout the entire thing, but they kind of do. Yugi is always like the compassionate, very much I don't want to do this unless I have to, or like let's say the world because it's my destiny kind of thing, kind of character. Joey's always like the kind of uh, roughhousing, more violent thinking, delinquent type character. Anzu or Taya is like the chick love interest type character, the whole power friendship thing. Tristan is always that kind of like other guy who doesn't really contribute very much to the plot now that I think about it. And then you have Bakura is always like the evil/good character, and Kaiba is very much like the business type guy. I stopped everything that's believed in me kind of character. So the characters do kind of change, like in the very first series, a little bit. Like they go through kind of a little brief little arcs of their characters, and they come out better on top of it. But they don't really truly develop as characters at all. So that really is a bit of a flaw for the series. Uh, I would list the whole card game thing as a flaw because when you have an entire series that runs around card games, it's very easy to get into lapse into like repetitive shit. And Yu-Gi-Oh does that a lot. Like every single season, for the most part, it's someone trying to take over the world through whatever means, how to beat them with the card game, to the point where like in the later seasons they don't even involve Yu-Gi. Card games are like are like up there with politics kind of thing. Like card games are running the world. Uh, but Um, I, I, I guess there really isn't too much else to say about Yu-Gi-Oh. I guess I can talk about the dub. Everyone knows Yu-Gi-Oh is a 4 Kids dub, and 4 Kids is notorious for their whole we must water down the product to make it as absolutely child and American friendly as possible. And Yu-Gi-Oh is no exception. Uh, it's not too bad. It's just kind of like the whole like you watch Yu-Gi-Oh! The Abridged series to really laugh your ass off at all like the shitty rewrites the dub did because it's all like, oh, we're going to kill you with our invisible guns or whatever, and so it's like, it's just simple shit like that. We never actually got season 0 here in America, and if you watch it and know anything about it, you know why. Uh, I really kind of wish we did though. But I guess that's really it. So in conclusion, really, Yu-Gi-Oh it's a fairly decent series. Like it's not like the best series, it's not the worst series, but it's definitely kind of a bit of a break from how typical shonen series tend to work, really, especially with the protagonists. Then again, school isn't really the big factor in Yu-Gi-Oh! Alright, so that's that. So all in all, I would give Yu-Gi-Oh! Just that which actually has Yugi as a protagonist in it. I would give the manga a 6.5 out of 10. The anime, probably a 5. So, thanks again for joining me. This has been a FlashBlack official anime / manga review. I will catch you next Friday with, I don't even know. See you later.